Hi, my name is Casey Stein. I use she, her pronouns, and I go to the University of New Mexico.
What do you study?
I'm majoring in theater, specifically in stage management and direction.
Do you enjoy studying that course at UNM?
I do. I've been having such a really good time. It's only my second semester, and so I can't wait to keep going.
I wanted to go ahead and discuss what you wanted to talk about, and as you mentioned before, it was sexism in the workplace. Could you please talk on that a little bit more?
Yeah, for me, the sexism in the workplace conversation stemmed from my own personal experience. A lot of my inspiration started just thinking about not only being a woman, but being a young woman in a very male-dominated workplace, especially something like technical things. It's not really expected for girls to know about it, care about it. And so entering not knowing anything, learning, and then continuing to grow in that was a challenge, especially with the environment I was in.
Do you have any specific examples of sexism that you did experience?
I think a lot of the misogyny or any of those expectations that come from technical theater isn't the forefront of people's mind. I think when these professionals that are coming in from all over the country see at the time, 16, 17, 18-year-old girl coming in fixing their mics, they don't really expect me to understand. It does come with experience. I just think people don't expect experience. A specific example is with working with other men coming in having also worked for a certain period of time, probably longer than I've been alive, and having this weird energy towards me, not liking me for no other reason. And I can't assume, but every time I do my job, they seem to have a problem with it or seem to just not treat me the way they treat others. There was a specific season where I was the only girl and the youngest person on our technical team, and there was a person on the team who just could not help but frown every time I talked, even though I did more than him at the time. So it was difficult working with him, and it almost discouraged me from continuing to work there.
For yourself, how would you like to see your field of work change, or the perception that other men have towards women in your workplace?
I think slowly it's surely getting better. I think we see that everywhere, but especially in spaces of the arts, we see women taking roles in more places than we've seen ever before. I think a lot of the times it depends on the environment created already by the big people in charge, and I think a lot of it is just letting time progress and just hiring good people. The people in charge are in charge for a reason, and they need to be able to recognize when someone isn't going to be a good person in the workplace, and especially if they have negative feelings towards women, even subconsciously or at the forefront. I also think a lot of it is just letting women work where they need to work, letting young girls know that they can work wherever they want to work. There's no position that is a male or female position. I think a lot of it also is within the people close to the department, but on the outside that you're working with. Women being able to have people outside of their direct team or field to have someone to reach out to is really important, and I think that would have helped me a lot of the times. If there was maybe a woman stage manager or a woman director I could have gone to and expressed these feelings, because a lot of the time when talking about it, it can't be expressed in any other way. The only people who could understand exactly what's going on or anything like that, or really comprehend what exactly the relationship is, whether it's be like power dynamics or just a person on your same level not liking you for whatever reason. Sometimes it's only a woman that would be able to understand. It's not to men's fault, but I think that's something that as us as women have grown up, we've learned to feel within each other, and it comes with the community of being a woman for sure.
Do you see more women entering this field of work, or is it difficult for them to do so, mainly from the reasons that you've listed already?
What I've found is that women will come in when there's women leaders. When there's a women director, suddenly the whole booth is women. When there's a woman stage manager, we find more people coming in that are women. I think what I find is that women tend to be strong in other roles, maybe not as a technician specifically, but in things like stage management and direction. But overall, I don't. I see it still continues to be male dominated, and I think a part of it is that women come and go out of the field, not out of interest, but out of that it's because they don't feel like maybe it's a place they should stay, or it never gave a good first impression, and so that doesn't leave someone wanting to stay in a position that doesn't welcome them.
Thank you so much for giving me your input and
you.
sharing your experience with what happens in this workplace, because you never know until somebody talks about it. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Of course.
My name is Victoria Iviliotis. I'm a senior at UNM, and I'm double majoring in astrophysics and psychology with a minor in women, gender, sexuality studies.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
So you said you're a senior. This is your last semester?
Unfortunately, no. It's going to take me a little bit longer, but I'd rather take a few years now to do what I want to do rather than leave now and then be upset later that I didn't follow through with it.
So you talked about your struggles in the STEM work field as a woman, but also identifying as non-binary. Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm assigned female at birth, and I do like to stay in tune with my feminine side, but I prefer not to be seen as a woman. But it does I run into a little bit of trouble when I'm in the STEM fields and like when I'm in the spaces, because I feel like there is this push to identify as a woman just because I'm still treated as such, because I'm, female presenting, and so people automatically assume I am a female. And yeah, people in the STEM field don't always treat women with the same respect. So I get talked over in class a lot, and sometimes I'll share an answer and somebody will say the same answer with more words. That became a problem last semester. I actually had to stand up for myself because this one kid, talked over me and it re-explained my answer, and I had to be like, stop doing that. Why are you doing that? And then, it was like this huge thing. But it's really unfortunate that happens, but I do tend to identify as like a woman in STEM just because it helps me have a community, because I am treated as such.
Are there more women or men present that are giving you trouble? Is it both? Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more of men presence that is an issue. And I would say something that I was thinking about was that there is not so much of a non-binary presence. It is just men or women, and I feel women don't have a place, but also non-binary people don't even have a place if women don't. But there are women in STEM. I don't think I've really encountered too many issues with them. I've actually made a bunch of friends that way. That's how I made my first friends here at UNM. I joined the AIAA, which is the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and I made my first friend there, and I made all my other friends from people that I already knew. So that's pretty cool that we can be there for each other. But I guess there is sometimes competition, but that doesn't really come up too often. I haven't really encountered that myself personally. I've heard it exists. There's this big male presence that's saying, you can't do it, why are you here?
What do you think has been one of the biggest motivating factors with pursuing STEM and staying in this field despite all the issues behind the male presence?
Well, I've always wanted to do astrophysics ever since I was 10 years old. So I went to a museum and I went up to the observatory, and that's when I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And I just spoke with my mom about it after, and she's like, you should do astrophysics. So I said, okay. And it's been in my mind ever since then. But I didn't actually start it when I did start at UNM. I was a psychology and political science double major, but that really wasn't what I wanted to do. So at the end of my sophomore year, I decided to make the change. That's also why I'm graduating late. But so I really wanted to pursue it. So that's always my biggest motivator, is you've always wanted to do this, so just do it. And I am a very spiteful person. So I like to do things out of spite. So if somebody tells me I can't, I'm going to. Yeah.
thinking about either going into research or being a teacher or using technology, do you think you would face the same issues that you're facing now if you decided to go into any of those fields?
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be like tenfold. I think it would be worse because there's already people there who are already established. And so even if I do the best job ever, it's going to be hard to like move up, if that makes sense. I'll probably stay where I'm at for a longer time than other people coming in. And I've heard stories of that, like people doing research here. There's a specific professor that did not pay her graduate students because she was a female, and then she had an undergrad start and she started paying him. So things like that are going to happen. It's really unfortunate.
Is there anything else you want to add at the end?
I guess I could talk about a little bit my experience in coming into my own gender identity. So when I was in high school, I started to feel uncomfortable identifying as a woman. I was like, whoa, what's going on? And I didn't really know that non-binary was an option. So I was just like, I was fully cut all my hair off and started going with he, him pronouns. And my mom didn't really understand it. She's always been pretty supportive of me. Like when I came out as a lesbian, everybody was like, yeah, that makes sense and we're proud of you. But when I was like, I think I'm trans, they're like, that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? But then when I came to non-binary, my mom was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I think that it's interesting to see that other people could kind of see that my identity was what it was. It did make me happy that she did eventually approve of what I was feeling and that I came into something that was comfortable for me.